and it's nice to be back in the Smoking Goat. So how's everybody gearing up for Christmas?
Yeah.
It's a kind of stressful time of year. Cost of living, cost of Christmas, is that a worry for anybody?
Yes.
Yeah, here we are out drinking on a Thursday. I'll tell you what one of the biggest stresses of Christmas is. Elf on the bloody shelf. Anybody doing that? Or anybody reading everybody else doing it on Facebook? Luckily, my children are all grown up. 2 of them are here tonight. But I've got grandchildren, and they come and stay over with me every so often. And a few of them were staying. I've actually got 7 grandchildren, aged from 5 to 15. Gasps of, I can't believe you've got a grandchild at 15. Would be appreciated. But 4 of the wee ones were staying with me, looking up at me with a wee faces, aged 5, 6, 7, 8, like a wee Steps tribute band. And one of them says, Granny Bernie, Jesus. Granny, will the elf on the shelf come tonight? What's the elf on the shelf going to do? And I'm thinking, no bloody way am I getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to put cellophane on the toilet seat or flour on the kitchen units so an elf can do snow elves. I'm not doing that, so I thought I need to get rid of these elves on day 1. 30th of November into the 1st of December. I had this brilliant idea. I'll tie a bit of tinsel to the top of the Christmas tree, have elf on the shelf, abseiling down the tinsel, and then it falls to its death on the floor, smashed up full of blood. And then I thought, no, I can't do that. And the reason I couldn't do it was because I didn't have my Christmas tree up, because it was the 30th of November and I'm not mental. So what I thought was, I'll write a wee note, got rid of the elf, wrote a note that said, because I thought I'll bring it up to modern day, things that the children can obviously, you know, it's what they hear all around about them these days. So I wrote a wee note and it's the elf saying, Dear Waynes, I'm so anxious about the next 24 days. I can't do this anymore. I've had a wee chat with my GP. He's recommended counselling, but there's such a long waiting list, it'll be next Christmas before I get there. So the GP has said I should go on a holiday for the benefit of my mental health. See you next year. Elf. So that's how I'm getting out of doing elf on the shelf. Anyway, as I said, I'm from Prestwick, but those of you who can detect an accent will hear that I have got a North of Ireland accent. Now, when I grew up in the North of Ireland, we did not have elf on the shelf. It was the height of the Troubles. Instead of elf on the shelf, we had Danger in the Manger. I was actually up all night trying to get a rhyme for balaclava, but I couldn't come up with it. Danger in the Manger. So, North of Ireland, that's where I went to school during the Troubles. Having a wee scan around the room, some of you will understand and know what the Troubles are. I'm assuming that you know what the Troubles are?
Yes.
For those of you who look like you were born after the Good Friday Agreement, I can give you a wee kind of description of the Troubles. It's a bit like Celtic versus Rangers with Semtex, but with a little less religious tension. Anyway, that's how I went to school, and now I've been working in Scottish education for actually more than 30 years, quite a long time in Scottish education. And obviously things are very different from when I went to school. So, for example, children have rights. Did you know that? Children have rights now? Somebody boomed that? Obviously, we're all in favour of children having rights. However, for those of us in education, the United Nations Charter for the Rights of the Child, there are 43 articles within that, all written in child-friendly language. For example, I have the right to be heard. I have the right for you to listen to me. I have the right to everything. And for those of us in education, I think they actually should have just amalgamated all the 43 articles. And by the way, the Scottish Government decided that they would put this into the legislation, the only country in the world to put children's rights into legislation. So those of us in education have to do it. So I think just take the whole 43 articles and create one article which says, I have the right to do whatever the hell I want, and you have to let me do that. So, for example, a child came up to me in school a wee while ago and said, Miss, I want to be an astronaut. And I said, you want to be an astronaut? It was a small child. You can be an astronaut. You can be anything you want to be. That's your right. Reach for the stars. Reach for those starry skies. You can do whatever you want. Maybe do a wee bit of maths and science, but you can be an astronaut. And actually, I had to put out of my mind that I'd excluded this child the previous week for graffitiing the signs in the school grounds. Signs that now read, this way to the fart department, this way to the football pitch. But I thought, right, this child has rights. I'm going to facilitate those rights. If they want to be an astronaut, they can be an astronaut. So about a week later, the same child comes back into me and says, Miss, I still want to be an astronaut. I just don't want to do maths and science, but I still want to be an astronaut. And I said, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Now that's the biggest difference from when I was at school. When I was at school, if I wanted to get out of maths and science, I had to get one of my pals to phone in a bomb scare. That is an actual true story. And so another job that I've had, working in education for all these years, I used to work for the National Autistic Society. Shout out to some of my former colleagues from NAS. Actually, some of them are the reason why I left NAS. So let's not go there. So one of the jobs I had was going around local authorities and telling them how we can support your autistic pupils, what we can do to provide support for autism and autistic pupils. And one time we were on our way up to the islands and we stopped off in Inverness, lovely city Inverness. Great conversation going on with the education people there. And then suddenly, out of the blue, one of the education people in Inverness said, the IRA has an autism unit. And my brain went into full-on Irish, Northern Irish mode. I thought, the IRA has an autism unit? How did I not know this? Have I been away from the north of Ireland so long that the IRA now has to comply with the Disabilities Act? Another reason I knew I was away from the north of Ireland for a long time and now in Scottish mode was because I said, how do I not know this instead of why do I not know this? So I was sitting there thinking, if they have an autism unit, do they have a visually impaired unit and a cerebral palsy unit as well? And then just as my brain was about to implode, it dawned on me. They were talking about Inverness Royal Academy. Another paramilitary organisation of the north of Ireland. So as I've said, I've been over here for a long time. It was actually a man who attracted me to Scotland, brought me over on the boat. She's going like that because it's her uncle. Anyway, I managed to shake him off after 15 years. But yeah, he brought me over in the boat from Ireland. Now, I know that sounds a wee bit like a trafficking incident, but I can assure you, he got on that boat 100% of his own way. What comes next? So yes, I've been here for a very long time, but people hear me talking when I'm out and about, and they say, are you just here for the weekend? And I say, well, I came over for the weekend more than 30 years ago and I'm still here. And invariably people say, which I'm sure some of you are thinking, oh, you haven't lost your accent. And I'm like, well, it's not like a pair of sunglasses or an umbrella that you put in your trolley beside, when you go to Sainsbury's. I'll just put my accent in the trolley next to my umbrella and I need to remember to take it home. Get home and I think to myself, oh shit, where's my accent? Don't tell me I've lost it again. Now, where was the last time I had it? Let me think. Oh yeah, I had it in Sainsbury's. Phone Sainsbury's. Hi Sainsbury's, I've lost my accent. Has anybody handed one in? I mean, obviously I wasn't talking like this because I'd lost my accent at the time. And they say, oh yeah, there was an accent handed in. Hold on, I will go to lost property and have a wee rummage through. And she said, is this your accent? Up and down the garden in a wee red motor. I said, no, that's not my accent, but see if you lose that in the back of a cupboard, nobody's going to be worried. So as you can hear, I got my accent back. Then the next thing that people say to me is, I love your accent. I could listen to you all night. And I think, how forward. Nevertheless, I do a wee appraisal, height, gender, teeth maintenance, overall hygiene, and I think that's never going to happen. I do apologise for looking at you when I said that. Or alternatively, I might say, that could be arranged. Notice I'm not looking at anybody. But yeah, I've been here a long time, and as I said, I managed to shake off the man that brought me here after 15 years. So after a wee while, I thought, I'll have a wee try of the internet dating and see how that goes. Now, if I can give a wee bit of advice to any of the single men in the room who are on internet dating, obviously I'm not going to give advice to any of the married men who are on internet dating, but guys, stop lying about your height and your age. Now, if you tell me that you're 50 years old and 6'2", do you think I'm not going to notice when you rock up on your Zimmer frame with a full-on diagnosis of dwarfism? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely in favour of diversity. Let's celebrate difference and diversity. I mean, I will be the first to complain if the next James Bond isn't a black, one-legged Jewish lesbian. But I just don't need all the protected characteristics in one date. Now, I'm very well aware that among my former NAS colleagues, there's a HR person. Just have the night off, Laura. You didn't hear me say that. There are no witnesses, okay? It's going nowhere. But internet dating, I can't say that I had any really awful experiences, unless you count the guy who wore a grey jumper to match his personality. We went for a date in Glasgow, and there was no spark, no chemistry whatsoever. And one of my friends messaged me, as the sisterhood does, how are you getting on? Are there any sparks? Are you ready to rip each other's clothes off? And I said, well, obviously, apart from the grey jumper, definitely not. And then a really strange thing happened, because I messaged her saying, I need to find a way out of this pretty quickly because it's going nowhere. And as soon as I messaged her, this really weird thing happened, and we had to evacuate the premises because there was a bomb scare. So yes, internet dating, you get the first bit where you get all these hundreds of messages that you have to sift through. Well, I don't know, maybe you don't get hundreds of messages, but obviously I get hundreds of messages. So actually now that I think about it, it's coming back to me. There were some horrific ones, actually really inappropriate. Oh my goodness, now that I think about it, some of them were really awful. I mean, I just can't believe how many people don't know how to use an apostrophe properly. Actually, I don't know why I'm surprised, because we see inappropriate use of apostrophes all around the place. In Prestwick Pool, there used to be a sign that said, please don't change your children on the spectators gallery. Well, my 3 children and I wouldn't fit on the spectators gallery, because according to that apostrophe, the gallery is only for one spectator. And as for the rest of it, please don't change your children. Here's me all these years thinking I had to keep the ones I actually gave birth to. So anyway, you get past that first bit where you have to sift through all those messages and all of that. Then there's the bit in the middle, and then you get to the bit at the end where you have to dump them. Which, due to my very high and exacting standards, comes around pretty quickly. Mind you, I actually have really very good reasons for dumping people. So, for example, there was the guy who kept saying breakfast and breaky instead of breakfast and breaky. I mean, who says that? So then there was the other guy that kept saying you and me, you and I instead of you and me. It's not you and I, it's you and me. You wouldn't say, oh, that would be a really good thing for I and you. No, you'd say me and you. Well, it's the same the other way around. You and me and you. Can you imagine the confusion when it got to the end and I had to dump him and I had to say, it's not I, it's you. Anyway, I think, I'm just getting a wee vibration on my phone. Oh, it's my pal phone, and see how I'm getting on, how are things going. I better go and take this call, otherwise we may have to evacuate the building. Thank you very much, everybody.
Bernie Kenzie!